Everyone, I just got out the shower and yeah, so this got this got dropped while I was showering. Always the greatest, most opportune times. Anyways, Renegades armor tuning preview. So there's 3 sandbox preview articles coming for Renegades. We obviously had the weapons one already, which was a bit of a, bit of a splash of cold water to the face. Some pretty crazy buffs in that one. I took a skim over this one before recording this, so I'm not completely lost while I'm reading it. This one's got some cool changes. I don't know if, some of them are pretty impactful, but we'll have to test, right? So we'll have to test because a lot of the changes here, they're not like numbers changes. You have to like actually get in game and test them to see how much of an impact they're going to have. Whereas with the weapon stuff, it was like 40%, 30%, stuff like that. So a lot easier to, figure out exactly what the change will entail. So let's get right into it. So first we have Hunter Exotics. We got Graviton Forfeit. So Graviton Forfeit, this is basically returning Heart of the Pack to Void Hunter or other Hunter subclasses that can become invisible, aka prismatic, right? So yeah, this is pretty good, right? Effect stacks up to 3 times, just like old Heart of the Pack, and unlike Heart of the Pack, you get Void Overshield, but it does say a portion. It does say a portion of Void Overshield. It seems like it doesn't give you full Void Overshield, which is, it's all right. The direct competitor here is going to really be stylish / like Ascension plus clone Prismatic Hunter on something like Hoyle Cert. And I don't think this is necessarily going to return Void Hunter to the fray of endgame content, because I know there's tether buffs and stuff happening, but presumably those are also going to apply to Prismatic Hunter's tether. So Prismatic Hunter just generally has a more versatile kit that is more useful, generally speaking, has more passive DR access, and of course you have invisibility access just like you do on Void with Graviton Forfeit. So the question is, would you rather have Void Overshield every time you proc Stylish on Prismatic, or like a little bit of Void Overshield, or would you rather have something like Hoyle Cert, where you can get Void Overshield from picking up orbs, which I guess you can on Graviton Forfeit too, using Faceted Purpose, but you also have Woven Mail permanently up, which is like, I don't think Graviton Forfeit is necessarily going to really take over the meta, but this is certainly a very welcome change, and for those people who are loving Graviton Forfeit and have used it in the past, this is still obviously going to be a very, very, very helpful change for those people. Okay, Omnioculus. Granting the effects of Beyond the Veil to allies now starts their health and shield regen. So there's a couple effects in this game that are based around health and shield regen, like starting your regen pretty much, which I think some of them are, I'm not going to speak too much, right? But this could synergize with them in the future, as well as some of the stuff that currently exists in the sandbox right now. So could potentially see some interesting synergies next season. However, I think this is more of a PvP change, to be honest, right? Obviously Omnioculus and like diving on your teammates with the shadow dive is pretty cool, right? And giving health shield regen is pretty nice, but a lot of the time in endgame content, you are constantly taking chip damage, so it's going to interrupt this health and shield regen instantly. So it's not amazing, I suppose. If it offered maybe some lingering DR to your teammates after they exited invisibility, that would be maybe a different story or something like that, but yeah, that would be kind of OP maybe. Especially in PvP. It also says this only applies to allies, not to the hunter themselves. Shax is watching. I think this is actually going to be quite annoying in PvP, because imagine you're peeking, the middle of a lane in trials, and at the start of the round, and you get all these people low, right? And then the hunter just like dives on them, and then they start their health shield regen. They're instantly full again, and then you have to engage again against these guys. And the thing is, this effect is infinitely cyclable if you are playing in a 3-stack. So I don't know. I imagine that might be annoying in PvP. I'm not a PvP guy, but that sounds pretty annoying in PvP, because people were definitely willing to run multiple Omni Hunters in past trials metas, and that's without this effect, right? So with this effect, it could be maybe oppressive. I don't know. I'm not a PvP guy. Lucky Raspberry. Okay. Arc Gold Grenade ability, projectile lifetime of chain projectile, blah, blah, blah. So this just seems like it makes it more consistent at hitting a larger radius, I guess, of targets, and more consistently, right? So if a target like ducks behind cover or something like that, or like starts to move out of the radius of the grenade, it's more likely to still hit them. I honestly think this is going to affect maybe PvP more than PvE, because Lucky Raspberry, the problem with Arc Bolts, Lucky Raspberry just doesn't offer like a broad range of versatile, benefits for endgame content, right? It really just helps you spam Arc Bolts, and Arc Bolts themselves are not that strong. So this doesn't really address any of those problems. It just makes the Arc Bolt sweep wider and activate faster, I suppose, which makes it more consistent, I guess, which is like a quality of life thing, but it's certainly not going to affect, I think, whether or not people use Lucky Raspberry for endgame PvE. So yeah, the Jolt thing is kind of nice. Returning Arc, yeah, this is kind of nice as well, because if you hit multiple targets, I think this will help you get your nade back a lot faster. You might be able to just spam Arc Bolts constantly as long as you're hitting multiple targets. I think Lucky Raspberry was kind of already like this, though, because I remember I don't remember quite what the buff was, but Lucky Raspberry did receive a buff that increased its uptime in the past, and people were saying, wow, you can spam arc bolts now into crowds and stuff like that, but, you know, people still don't use Lucky Raspberry in endgame content, so obviously that wasn't really the problem. Okay, Orpheus Rig. Abilities, right? Look forward to more on abilities in our upcoming Dev Insights article. It says increase super duration from 16 to 20 seconds. For those of you that don't know, Tether right now, without any sort of kill extension, lasts 12 seconds. So presumably what they've done is they've made it last 16 now by base. And now Orpheus will make it last 20 seconds. Now 20 seconds is actually probably long enough to maybe tip some of those edge cases where you were kind of debating between using a tractor user versus a tether user. Certainly will help. And tether, I think you'll maybe see it more now in stuff like dungeons, maybe more now in stuff like raids where there's a long distance boss and you want to debuff, because certainly I think a hunter is capable of farming up a tether maybe within like 20 seconds if they're using the right abilities and the right weapons to farm up their super, assuming that active super generation from weapon damage and stuff like that has not changed. So that might change. I don't know. We'll see in the abilities tuning article. But yeah, Orpheus Rig, pretty cool change. 20 seconds is pretty long without any extension. And if they rework Tether to make it literally apply an extendable debuff, that's going to be a game changer. That's going to be a game changer along with this debuff duration increase. So we'll see what happens. Okay, Gemini Jesters. Yeah, again, universal disorient verb, like they mentioned in the weapon tuning with like the whole disorient, equalization thing. Everything is going to be the same. Bring everything up to speed. Yeah, this is like a PvP change. This is also a PvP change. And 2 seconds to 3 seconds. I mean, that's kind of nice, I suppose, but it's, it's not game changing, not insane, crazy game changing, but we'll see. I mean, Disorient is going to probably have more synergies next season, so maybe people will find a reason to use Gemini Jesters for like the ultimate disorientation of enemies. For example, using Clone, Ascension, and Gemini on the same build, and just like absolutely sending ads for a loop when you when you touch near them. Okay, Titan Exotics, Arbor Warden. So picking up 3 orbs now enhances your next Baronade, and I think this is nice because obviously you had to sacrifice kind of the usage of 2 abilities sort of in terms of like uptime and like your gameplay loop in order to kind of facilitate this exotic. And they obviously made a change, I think, before where your thrown nade now inherits the properties of your nade aspects or whatever, and now they're making it so that it spawns 3 of your nades. I honestly, I mean, it's funny, I guess, to see like 3 Drengers Lash barricades come out of a grenade. But I think this is still kind of a gimmick. Yeah, and then picking up 3 orbs of power, even in PvE, like let's say the fastest way to generate 3 orbs of power on Titan would be like playing Knockout Titan and just getting 3 melee kills with 3 heavy-handed copies back to back. And that would give you pretty good uptime, I guess, on this. But you still need the cooldown, right? And it's still like the effect is not that amazing. Like it's just cool to look at. Maybe this is going to be annoying in no, not really in PvP. No, you need 3 orbs. Yeah, that's not happening. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's quirky. Yeah, and if you use Arbor Warden for some reason, like, you'll be like, wow, that's cool. I get 3 nades now. But I don't know. I don't really see a reason why you would, I'm really trying to think. I don't really think there's any reason why you would really make use of this, given that this change. But it's cool, I guess. Dunemarchers. Okay, so increase maximum chain count from 4 to 7. The problem with Dunemarchers in endgame PvE, since, when a funny story, when I started playing Destiny 2, the first thing I did when I made my Titan, so I made a Titan first, because my friend group, we didn't have a lot of Titans, and they're like usually Titans. So I played Titan, and I think I got Dunemarchers pretty early on, and I spent, I don't know, the majority of the first month of my gameplay just like running around punching ads in. And I think if you could put a kill tracker on Dunemarchers, I would easily have like thousands and thousands of kills on Dunemarchers. So yeah, I've loved Dunemarchers in the past, back when I was a new light, but the problem hasn't really ever been the chain count. It's been in endgame content, the chain just doesn't kill things. It just doesn't do enough damage. So I don't think this is going to change anything. Each chain hit now grants 2 bull charge stacks. Like I guess that's fine. I mean, you're probably like, let's say you punch an ad and there's like 5 ads near it. You'll get bolt charge ready pretty quickly. And then the next time you punch something, you'll trigger bolt charge on it, I guess. But that's like, I don't know. I think most Titan melee builds where you're willing to go up and punch something after sprinting, you probably just want the melee to instantly have like kill impact, right? Which is why people use stuff like Synthos and Worm Gods, etc. So I don't think Dunemarchers is really going to make that much of a difference, but I don't know. Glaive melees can now also trigger the chain. Quality of life change. I mean, that probably should have always been a thing, but that's cool. If you use Dunemarchers, you'll like this change, but I don't think it's going to be like a meta shifter for obvious reasons. I don't think anyone is assuming that. Okay. Ursa Furiosa. Ursa Furiosa, yeah, it's like the banner shield, I guess also unbreakable exotic. Should now properly gain super energy if damage is blocked, blah, 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 while the player has an overshield. Yes, super energy, da, da, da. Okay, so yeah, before I think they made it so that the amount of damage that you are taking in during like a combat or whatever, like, you know, everyone remembers the old like Proving Ground tank room strat with like 2 Ursa juggling back during Season of the Chosen or whatever season that was. And yeah, like in harder activities, you would definitely get like big returns on your super. But in lower tier activities, which I don't think I ever used Ursa in lower tier activities. I don't know anybody that has, but yeah, I assume there was some sort of scaling, so they've kind of equalized that now. I don't think this is really going to change Ursa whatsoever at all in terms of like endgame gameplay usage, because, you know, it's getting the smallest buff in endgame content, and also the super refund meter fill rate was not really the biggest issue because like you would usually get the maximum amount anyway, so you were already saturating that. So yeah, again, not a huge change. Let's keep going. Okay, second chance can be a big cluster. Okay, cool. Yeah, makes sense. Added. Spawns void breaches on shield throw final blows. Grants shield throw and melee energy on picking up any void breach. That's fine. Honestly, void breaches are not one of the most plentiful elemental pickups that you can make. So I'm not sure how much this is really going to affect second chance too much. Also, second chance, one of the problems with second chance as well is that shield throw just doesn't do a lot of damage, right? In endgame content, like you throw shield throw and you get it back and, you know, you get the overshield or whatever. But like you don't really use it to clear ads, and this exotic buff is kind of implying that you are using it to kill ads. So it's like fine, I guess. I mean, it also has this thing now where you can like weaken and also block with second chance, but obviously if you're using Ursa, I almost said Ursa. If you're using Sentinel Shield in like a team-based context, you're probably gonna have Ursa on as well. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of whatever. I mean, if you're already using second chance for whatever reason, that's fine. But you know, I don't think this is really gonna change much. In endgame content, for reference right now, second chance is basically just used to apply weaken. So this doesn't like change any of that. Like it's a swap exotic. So yeah, I'm 2 bosses. I mean, so yeah, so that's that. Armamentarium now grants 10% grenade energy on weapon to final blow. Cool. Now reloads the player's equipped weapon when using a grenade ability. I don't know if this has an internal cooldown. If it does, sucks. But if it doesn't, then, you know, Titan has some decent grenade builds, right? You can run like Hoyle Pulse, or not Hoyle Pulse, sorry. Armamentarium Pulse with Touch of Thunder, and then obviously the ionic traces that are being generated from the pulses ticking. Those would give you a lot of grenade back. And with 200 grenade and grenade fonts and, you know, all this stuff, and thruster with distribution, you know, this sort of thing, you could probably get like a decent rotation going with like a rocket, or maybe with like a new heavy sniper, or, you know, with anything that would benefit from spamming reload by throwing grenades. So could be cool. I don't think it's going to be Curious, but could be cool. We'll see. You know, never know. Line Rampants, that's a PvP change. Peacekeepers. Okay, this is... Oh, they added back num loading. I don't really know what the proper term is there, but for those of you that are not aware of this, there's a tech that you could do with Peacekeepers where you could basically double swap on and off an SMG. So I'm not talking about the thing where you have 2 SMGs and you just shoot repeatedly between them by alternating. I'm talking about the thing where you have 1 SMG and then you do, I think it's like you stop shooting like right before your mag runs out or something like that, and then you swap to the other weapon, you swap back, and the PK is kind of like gets tricked into thinking that you've like stowed the weapon for like the appropriate amount of time, and then it like loads your SMG. And the thing is, you can keep shooting with the damage bonus still active, right? So it's this interaction is sub 1 second, the interval, so you can like keep up the thing, the damage boost for that time. So that was patched. I thought they did it intentionally, but apparently they corrected an audio issue, and that broke dumb loading. I don't know, dude. Don't ask me. Okay, so they added it back. That's cool. I know there was a small subset of the community that was upset about that. Just like the like Ascension sword thing. You know, it's always like, you know, there's a small group of people that appreciate certain interactions in this game. So it's nice that they added it back. That's cool, because I don't really think it was like hurting anything. So that's cool. That's, you know, completely minor change. Warlock exotics. Okay, nothing Manacles. Reminder, yep, cool. That buff was nice. I think people are underrating charged scatter grenades a little bit. I don't think they're insane or anything, just to be clear, but, you know, I think people are underrating them like a little bit. We'll go over that. I have a video planned, which is super late, which is basically like, what did I learn from doing 9 million years of damage testing during the Edge of Fate, which will discuss grenade damage and include, obviously, scatter grenades in that discussion. So keep an eye out for that. We'll talk more about that when we get to that. Charge scatter grenade ability, faster final projectile speed, doesn't really affect too much. The Seekers are already quite aggressive with their tracking, and unless whatever you're, you know, attacking is like moving very fast, like away from you or something, I don't think this is really gonna affect much. Exotic armor now grants additional scatter Seekers on scatter grenade kill. This effect can chain. Okay, so maybe a potential competitor against stuff like Controverse Axion. I don't really think it's going to be, but you know, potentially. You know, nice to just have some competition in that Void Grenade slot. But I don't think this is gonna like affect anything when it comes to Endgame. So yeah. Briarbinds. Okay, I actually didn't read this change yet. So okay, now needs fewer kills to max out the Void Soul damage bonus. Yeah, cool. The Briarbinds Void Soul now does more damage based on the amount of time it has been deployed up to 30% more damage. Okay, cool. I mean, to be fair, low-key, I didn't even know Briarbinds had a Void Soul damage bonus when you get kills. So this is cool, I guess. The thing is, Void Soul, it does so little damage when I was testing it that like I didn't even bother like putting it in the spreadsheet. Maybe now I will, but like I guess this is to make it kind of compete against stuff like Hellion and Arc Soul. Obviously, Hellion and Arc Soul, they're like a little different because Void Soul's Weaken is Void Soul's Weaken is objectively more useful than something like the Scorch and the Ignition from Hellion, unless you're like stunlocking a boss. And it's probably more useful than the Jolt from Arc Soul as well. So having it do less damage makes sense from a balancing perspective, but I think the damage was so low that it was like just not even worth mentioning. But you know, Briarbinds has some debuff extension kind of stuff going on, so maybe I'll take a look at it again when Renegades comes out. We'll add it to the spreadsheet because at this point, I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you guys have been keeping up with the spreadsheet, but it has pretty much every single damage source in the game now, like literally everything. Like I tested Lumina body shot damage, like literally everything is in there. So Void Soul is like one of the only things that isn't. So maybe I'll put it in there. Okay, Stormdancer's Brace, opponents. Yeah. Okay, while Stormtrance is equipped, now grants Bolt Charge, not capitalized, for arc ability hits when amplified. Okay. That's interesting. Not really. No, that's not that interesting. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, that's not that interesting. Stormtrance damage bonus now builds on hits instead of kills. Increase max count to compensate. Now it needs 30 hits to cap. Top end damage bonus is changed. Is this a buff? 30 hits. So basically, you need to tick something 30 times with Stormtrance to get it to do max damage. So it's basically always going to do a flat amount of damage if you're doing damage to a single target, is what it sounds like. Because like before, what you would do, I guess, is with the whole ascending amplitude thing, you would pop Stormtrance, you would get kills with Stormtrance, and then you would start damaging the boss. Which I don't think anyone was ever doing this, but I don't know. I guess this is kind of a nothing burger change, but like I guess cool, sure. Winter's Guile. I think as a whole, Bolt Charge, it's a little bit underrated because like the melee regen effect, I suppose, but like I think the sandbox team's understanding of Bolt Charge return on investment compared to other elemental effects return on investment, I think is a little skewed. I think Bolt Charge is certainly less valuable than other elemental effects that are given to players. For example, like the Graviton change where it gives you Void Overshield for, you know, meeting X criteria. I think the sandbox team applies that same kind of level of justification or kind of, I don't know, like feedback loop to other exotics that are arc-based for Bolt Charge. And I think Bolt Charge is like objectively less useful than a lot of the other elemental effects. So I think maybe, I don't know. That's just a side comment, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, Winter's Guile, this is kind of a big change, right? Melee-centric stuff. Melee and finisher final blows grant bonus melee damage up to 4 times, right? So I don't remember. Is this more than Worm Gods? I think this is... Okay, well, this is up to 5 times. I think this is more than Worm Gods, isn't it? I think it's more than Worm Gods. I think Worm Gods is like 4.5, right? I don't know. But it goes up to 10 stacks. But the really nice thing, which people have been complaining about for ages, is you lose stacks one at a time. You lose stacks one at a time, right? This is, you know, great change, right? Makes Warlock grapple melee even potentially usable. The thing is I assume that grapple melee will activate Warlord's Rage. So the way the exotic works is once you hit 10 stacks, you have, 10 seconds to activate Warlord's Rage. And I don't really know how this, like, when you activate your melee ability, does that mean like any melee? Like when you punch something uncharged, like it'll activate Warlord's Rage? Not really sure how that works. If it's like any melee, like including grapple melee, including literally just normally meleeing something, then that's kind of annoying. I think it would be nice to just be able to keep it at 10 stacks and just not activate Warlord's Rage until you literally activate a melee ability, like a charged melee ability. But I assume what's going to happen is literally like the next time you melee something with any sort of melee ability, it'll activate Warlord's Rage, and then for 10 seconds you'll have a 5 times melee damage bonus. Now the interesting thing here is it says gain faster melee speed. I don't think we've ever had a melee speed modifier in recent Destiny, not that I can remember. So I have no idea what that's going to look like. I have no idea if it's going to be like faster glaive meleeing, maybe glaive melee is going to be decent with this. I have no clue. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, this might be interesting more on Hunter and on Titan, where like the base melees and like the actual melee abilities are a bit stronger. But on Warlock, it's like, I don't know, like what melees are gonna, you have like Arcane Needle, it's not that good, you know. I guess Lightning Surge, but like I don't think faster melee speed is gonna affect how fast you can Lightning Surge, right? It has like a set animation. So like, I don't know. Yeah, I'd maybe snapping, but Scorch, the ignitions don't even scale. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the vision is here, but I don't know. The thing that first came to mind when I looked at this was maybe like Winter's Guile Lightning Surge could be good, I guess, right? Because like it's pretty easy to get multiple kills to stack pretty quickly. And then, you know, once you have 5 times, and you get dramatically increased melee regen speed. So if you have Arcane Needle, you could just go on like a killing spree with like a 5 times damage bonus Winter's Guile. But like, I don't know. That's fine, I guess. I don't know. Like, whatever. Okay, we're nearing the end here. This is probably the biggest change, by the way. Yeah, I know we've been kind of laughing and stuff. This is probably the biggest change. This is the change that's probably going to affect endgame content the most. Warlocks. Super damage, increasing exotics like Ursa, Nighthawk, blah, 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 blah. Okay, hitting a target with 5 Needlestorm super projectiles now will also... So Needlestorm, I believe, has 8 or 9 Needlestorm super projectiles. So you hit... on a boss, it's very reasonable to hit 5, right? So hitting a target with 5 Needlestorm super projectiles now will also activate the Stylostixis suspending burst. The burst caused by the super... The burst... Okay, so... To feel like a damage contender with the likes of Ursa Thundercrash. With the likes of the Ursa Thundercrash. Wow. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good, you know? Because the thing is, Strand Warlock, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but has received a lot of buffs recently, right? Like Weaver's Call got a buff to make it excellent for passive damage, especially with pack tactics this season. You have Weave Walk, which is one of the most OP survivability aspects in the game. And it was really just a shame that it was tied to Strand Warlock, because Strand Warlock is, you know, not amazing, right? Not amazing. And Mataiodoxia, you know, it's kind of a... People don't really use the exotic because, you know, there's no reason to use a non-damage exotic in not-swap cases and stuff like that. But now, this exotic, it's not even like Curus, right? Curus is like... Basically, the only effect that it has is it doubles Thunder Crash damage. Like, and, well, not doubles anymore, but it's like 70%. You know what I mean, right? It boosts your Thunder Crash damage, right? The melee kill super thing is nice, but... And the same thing with Nighthawk, right? Like, the precision kill super thing, that's nice, right? But that's not the reason you use the exotic. But Mataiodoxia, arguably, right? With this new change, it will be obviously very good for damage, but the passive effect is, like, already way more constructed than Nighthawk and T-Crash, or and Curus. Because think about it like this, right? Nighthawk and Curus, these exotics were made to be damage exotics. Like, that was their first intention. And then Bungie was like, oh, you know, these exotics are kind of one-dimensional. Let's add a little effect on the side afterward. Mataiodoxia is the opposite. Mataiodoxia was made as a neutral exotic first, right? And then they added the damage on top of that. So I think the nice thing here is that Mataiodoxia, the people will be much more willing to play around with the neutral side of Mataiodoxia because it's a lot more fleshed out. It's a lot more... That's how the exotic was originally designed, right? So yeah. Okay, so that's cool. You know, I was yapping, but I'm excited. I'm excited, honestly, to play Strand Warlock and stuff like that. Or maybe people are going to play Prismatic Warlock and just swap to my Doxia for damage. I don't know. We'll see. I guess it depends on if you have not swap or not, but yeah. Okay. Dawn Chorus. We're buffing solar... Blah, 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 blah. Okay, Daybreak plus Dawn Chorus damage increased by 5%. This is not going to do shit. This is not going to do shit. I mean, I guess like if you want to use Daybreak, I think what this will do is it will... So right now, if you're not aware, Daybreak without Dawn Chorus versus Daybreak with Dawn Chorus, the difference is huge. Okay, so I think what this is doing is it's squishing the two together. Daybreak and Dawn Chorus damage like together will be like a lot smaller. So base Daybreak is getting a big buff. Like, okay, who cares? But you know, it's getting a big buff. And then with Dawn Chorus on top of that, that's only getting a small buff, right? So it's just increased by 5%. So yeah, I mean, ignition with a single projectile, that's kind of cool. Maybe it can like stunlock bosses or something like that. But you have Song of Flame, right? You have Song of Flame, which you can also shoot weapons during that. So I don't think it's going to change anything. Daybreak is just inherently like not a good super for damage. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading here and maybe it's like 20% and 5%, but I still think that's not going to be good. So yeah, kind of a nothing burger change, whatever, cool, but not enough. Okay, that is it. So to summarize things, because I know some of you are short on time, I'll put a little summary at the end here. Hunter changes, not too much. Like you could see hunters for tether debuff that is probably going to be more frequent, might affect this upcoming dungeon race. So Orpheus Rig, once that's tested, and if it's like timer extendable and stuff like that, if you find like it's easy to regen a super, like a full tether in the time that it takes, like in that 20 seconds, Orpheus Rig could be a perma 30% debuff uptime option. So that's cool. That's probably the biggest change for hunters. For Titan, yeah, nothing. Okay. For Warlocks, we have Winter's Guile. That could be interesting, but this needs a little bit of testing, right? Needs a little bit of testing. Just could be interesting. And we have Mataiodoxia, which is a big change, right? It will probably be, because like think about it like this, right? Mataiodoxia, not bad neutral if the next race is not swap, whether we're talking raid or dungeon race. And you have stuff like Weavewalk, you have Weaver's Call, good for damage, right? So unlike Curious, you have stuff like Thread of Ascent, right? Which is great. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. And you could also use Mataiodoxia if you really wanted to. You could use it on Prismatic, and then you could pair it with stuff like Hellion, and you know, you could add on other stuff to it, and you know, people could be Mataiodoxia swapping with Getaway Artist, and you know, doing all the soul stuff, and you know, you would have the benefit. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of possibilities here. Okay. So pretty exciting stuff. We're obviously going to need to test Mataiodoxia. If it literally makes Needlestorm do damage equivalent to Curious T-Crash, yeah, like that's really good. I mean, obviously Prismatic Titan is still like maybe better neutral, arguably. I don't know. It kind of depends. But this is certainly a nice equalizer, right? Nice equalizer. Hoping Golden Gun gets a buff as well. We'll probably see that in the abilities article. And yeah, maybe they'll make like a benchmark standard, right? Curious T-Crash, Mataiodoxia, Needlestorm, Nighthawk, Golden Gun. They're all going to do the same damage, right? Maybe that's their goal. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed the little yap sesh. Probably not a lot of footage on screen for this one, but you know, just interesting discussion. I'm currently working on some like Renegades projects and some other stuff. And I am also working on finishing damage testing. So yeah, look out for that. There will definitely be a couple videos coming out. I'm trying to make a video for like, what should you grind before Renegades comes out? That sort of video as soon as possible. Probably 2 videos from now, that one should be out. So hopefully a couple days at least before Call to Arms ends, so people have the opportunity to farm whatever they need to, because Call to Arms, whether people like it or not, the event itself is actually quite good for farming the weapons that they're featured, you know, like submersion and stuff like that. So that is it. I love all of you guys. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye for now.